Let us now head over to the U.S., where the Biden administration reportedly expressed relief that President Yoon reversed the order. We have Voice of America correspondent Jessica standing by. Hello there, Jessica.
Hey, good morning to you.
Good evening to you. Jessica, let's start with how the White House is reacting to the news at the moment.
Well, the latest statement we have actually comes from the State Department and from Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State. And you mentioned, you referred to it a little bit right there, but he said, "We welcome President Yoon's statement that he would rescind the order declaring emergency martial law," going on to say, "We continue to expect political disagreements to be resolved peacefully and in accordance with the rule of law. And we reaffirm our support for the people of Korea and the U.S.-ROK alliance based on shared principles of democracy and the rule of law." We just got that statement about an hour and a half ago. So the most recent sentiment from the U.S. government on the matter.
Well, it looks like the declaration was just as surprising to the U.S. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it did come as a surprise. There was no advance warning for the U.S. government, and they said that repeatedly, whether it was at the Pentagon briefing or the State Department briefing. It's not clear that they should have expected to have some kind of advance notice, but they certainly reiterated that they did not. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kirk Campbell was actually in the middle of an event with the Japanese ambassador to the United States at the State Department when he was being peppered with questions. It was a totally unrelated event previewing a gala event, and he was asked about the developments, saying that these are things that he is treating with grave concern. He expressed every hope and expectation that any political disputes will be resolved peacefully and in accordance with the rule of law, and also went on to just say, you know, everybody is trying to talk to their counterparts. So you get the sense that there was sort of a scramble here in Washington to find out what was going on, why it was happening, and why there was no advance notice, what it means, of course, to the alliance, whether it was going to affect U.S. troops, for example, or certainly the plans that have been laid out with the trilateral with the Japanese as well in terms of countering Beijing.
Right, shocking to a lot of us. Now, Pentagon says that there's no change in the defense posture in terms of U.S. troops stationed here in South Korea. Now, we should think of it as a relief, shouldn't we?
It certainly would be a relief to many of the soldiers and their families, and certainly to some in Washington. But also, we don't have the final word on all of that. What we do know is that there's no curfew that's been issued on these troops, according to Pat Ryder, the spokesperson for the Pentagon. And he also said that there has been contact between the militaries, and that statement was made a few hours ago. So you can imagine that there might have been more contact in the intervening hours since that time. He also said that there's no indication that North Korea is trying to take advantage of the situation, which appears to be consistent with the reporting that you all have at Arirang as well. And so that is certainly something to be aware of and encouraged by, perhaps.
Yeah, and relief coming from the Biden administration. Now, I'd like to ask you, any word or comments from the U.S. President-elect Donald Trump?
Not at this point.
Okay.
And of course, he has many members of his former administration who may be coming back into the administration, who participated in those talks that we all followed so closely with Kim Jong-un, first in Singapore and then Hanoi, Vietnam. I actually was on the ground there doing those reports, and definitely a fascinating time in foreign policy and a very challenging time in diplomacy. But he has not made any statements on social media. I haven't been able to find any statements from his close circle around him. We do know that President Yoon was really preparing to make the case to President Trump that he should not carry out some of the expenditure agendas that he has been making statements about, asking South Korea to pay more for the troops on the DMZ. He was actually said to be working on his golf game, President Yoon was, in advance of that. So we know that the two of them may get a chance to talk, but of course the political situation on the ground there in Seoul is too fraught to predict exactly what will happen in the coming hours.
Alrighty, Jessica, thanks much for connecting with us as always, and also for the thorough report.
You bet.